Deborah Valentine. I'm really happy that you're here, and we're going to have an energy talk together. You will be speaking and sharing from your two main roles as the Director of Access and as the Chair of WBII. Right. Let's start with Access. What type of organization is it? What are you doing as a director?
Well, thank you for inviting me and for having me here. Access is a local nonprofit organization run by volunteers, and its mission is to help people find answers to the questions they have when they relocate to the Netherlands. Knowing, where to find a house, how does the healthcare system work, you have 1,000 questions when you move. Many answers are now available in English, but the answers we give are also from the point of view of our volunteers having done the process themselves. So they sometimes understand the questions that aren't being asked but should be asked. And so we answer those. For instance, somebody will ask us, I'm looking for a pediatrician. If we receive that question, we know you probably don't understand how the house art system works, the family practitioner. And so we will answer the question about the pediatrician, but we will give you a little bit of an introduction as to how the family system works, family health care. Because you can't just go to a pediatrician unless your family doctor refers you. Well, you could try, but it'll be very difficult. So we answer questions from the point of view of experience. And our volunteers are, 90% of them are partners of people who have relocated to the Netherlands for their work. And so the volunteers contribute their time to the organization. They run the organization from the finance to the communications, recruitment, training.
And that's kind of special.
Well, they do a lot of different roles, and it's run by volunteers. I'm paid as the director, and we have an operations manager, but every other role is essentially done by volunteers.
Yes, but it's special in the sense that they come to another country with their partners.
Yeah.
And they have to start anew with their lives, and this is a stepping stone.
It's a huge stepping stone. And I think so we have the mission to the public to answer the questions, but we have a mission internally to ensure that people, when they arrive, that they have a place to go that respects them professionally, that gives them a title that they can put on their LinkedIn profile. They have a chance to meet other people who are in the same boat as they are in. The only differences can be, when did you arrive? How long have you been here? Other differences, do you have children? Do you not have children? But essentially the core of it is we have one shared experience. We followed somebody here from somewhere in the world. And so we provide that environment for them. And as we were discussing earlier, they can go out for a drink with their colleagues, not the partner's colleagues, not the partner's work-related, not school colleagues.
And that brings back the balance and harmony within the relationship.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say it brings back that to the relationship, but it at least makes the individual feel stronger. And sometimes people...
And that will pay off in a relationship.
Exactly, it will. But I'm not going to make the one statement to the other. The most important thing for us is that the people who come and volunteer with us, that they feel stronger, that they feel more confident, that they know that they're contributing to help other people as well. So we hope that all of those things together help them in whatever they decide to do. Some people decide to go back to school. Some people we've had a few volunteers that have been with us for 10 years because this is their world, this is their community, and they enjoy it. Other people, we have higher turnover as people find jobs, so it changes all the time. But the most important thing for us is the individuals who come to us, that they also grow, that they also learn something or contribute something. We have people doing roles that are not necessarily their area of expertise, but it's a safe environment to try. There's no one's going to fire you. And you can try it, and you have a team to help you try it.
So you're building your confidence, you feel stronger, learning new skills. Yeah. And what we mentioned earlier, that it has a positive impact on the relationship with their partners, because you told me before that the men shared with you that they were so happy
Yes.
that you helped their
Yes,
partners.
we've had a few occasions. So we've had annual parties for the last few years where we invite our volunteers and their partners. And I did have one male spouse, a husband, very thrilled with me and my colleague, the operations manager, for saving his wife. He was thanking us in tears. You know, before she found us, she had not been doing very well. And since she found us, she had a purpose and she had a smile on her face. It was a very rewarding feeling, very uncomfortable feeling, because I don't feel that I did it. I think the organization and the individual did it together. But there was praise for the environment existing in which this took place. And we've had similar responses from other people as well. Yeah.
That's
thanking us.
wonderful.
Every gain is wonderful. Yes, absolutely. No, and it's rewarding. And she's still with us, and she still is happy. Yeah, that's a mission accomplished.
Yes.
Yeah, for me anyway.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, so these are like the transformations happening internally.
Yeah.
When people start helping out here and
Yeah.
gathering and having their social bottles
Yeah.
in
The drinks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And,
Yeah.
and what else do they gain? Like they gain the work experience, and then they step forward to another type of job, maybe?
Well, they can, yes, and you can move around within the organization. So everybody starts off at our help desk. We have a recruitment process every month. These take place online now. We learned to do that during COVID, and we've kept it up. So we have and during the information session, we tell people who we are and what we do and what we expect from people. Everybody starts at the help desk, be it the back office help desk in The Hague, or the help desks that work with the cities of Utrecht, Amsterdam, Amstelveen, or The Hague, Expat Center. And after you've done, I'm not exactly sure how long we ask, I forgot, but after a few months there are other opportunities within the organization. So we've had people with financial experience help with the finance team, or people who have an interest in social media join the communications team. So it can show growth and capabilities and diversity in their own LinkedIn profiles, for instance, or on their own resumes. So it's a good thing. It's always varied. Yes, always.
Yeah. So talk to me about your daily day. Like, what do you do during?
So a lot of the management of the volunteers is done by the operations manager. I tend to look after some of the more external relations, so our communications team and our partners team, because of course we're a non-profit, so we also have to find funding for ourselves. So a lot of what I do is based on the fundraising aspect of it. And because of the cities that we work with, I work quite closely with the cities, just getting feedback, how's it going, what's missing, what needs to be done, and monitoring cases that are taking place on a global level. So Access has been quite fortunate, and we've participated in something called the Expat Roundtable, which is a meeting of all the expat desks and a few ministries and Access. So I get to hear what's happening in the broader international community and contribute things to that conversation, or share things that we've noticed within our community. So it's so I do a lot of the external relations.
And you do a lot of talking. And
I do a lot of talking, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people, so it fits my character. It would be, I think, a bit of a challenge if you didn't talk. But yes, I'm a talker. I'm outgoing. I easily connect with people, so that helps.
Yes, yeah. And earlier you mentioned also that you noticed that nowadays, there are many people who have neurodivergent brains.
Yeah.
So they are not that talkative, but they also come in and they would love to volunteer for Access.
Yeah.
And you've noticed that. And
yes, we've definitely noticed it. Years and years ago, we started to notice it with the mental health support that we did. Parents looking for support for neurodivergency with their children and in schools. So that slowly started coming up. And then a few years ago, we have we have a network of trainers who offer different services to the community. And one of them started talking more and more about ADHD in women. And so I made a little connection, and we started discussing it within an international environment. And then we took a step back, and we noticed that several within our community also displayed different characteristics. Now, when it comes to tips that I give people when they arrive in a new country, I mean, not everybody can volunteer with Access, but everybody can volunteer somewhere, can go to a coffee morning. May not be your cup of tea, it's not a cup of tea for everybody, but I do think your first few months, just go to all these events to make a list of what you like, what you don't like, people you meet, friends you might make, answers you might get. And I've been giving that advice for some years, but now with the neurodivergency that we're experiencing or becoming more aware of, I realize that that advice sometimes has to be measured a little bit, because not everybody's comfortable walking into an environment of completely different people that they don't know, potentially in a language that they don't follow completely. So we're trying to find ways of encouraging that, because there is still value for all of us to meet others that you don't like. So you say, okay, that's what I'm going to stay away from. But to meet others that you do like, this is what I'm going to bring to me. So I still think there's value there. And for people who are challenged in talking or in meeting new people, we're trying to share tips. So go with somebody, but make an agreement not to talk to each other the whole time. Try and use each other to meet other people. Go to these events with two or three questions prepared ahead of time, so that you have something to say. Be clear what you're looking for as well. Understand some of the social rules, and in some countries you can jump into personal details very quickly and very easily. Not necessarily the case in the Netherlands. So there are some social rules that are good to understand. We don't get too personal into people's lives until you've known them a little bit longer. But there's a threshold of questions that you can ask about your work or about their work or what you're looking for. So these sorts of things we're trying to share. And for the people who are looking for new tools, we're looking with them as well to see how we can encourage that more effectively.
Yeah, I recognize all these tips. And
good.
And they work. Yes, and I thought of the clients that I work with, and no, some of these people with neurodivergent brains, they also don't really like the human touch, like physical touch.
Yeah.
So it's
and there are ways to people can get uncomfortable about it, but there are ways of communicating that. I think in general, society is learning a bit more. It's going to take a while before we all understand all the cues. But, for instance, I lived in Latin America, and it was extremely common when you walked into an event, you shook hands when you arrived, but when you left, you gave 2 kisses, not 3, 2. That was very normal.
But also, I can imagine during talks with new people in Latin America,
there's a lot of touching
more quickly.
Yes. And here, I started to do that when I first arrived, because I came from Latin America and quickly learned, we don't do that here. Okay, so I just stepped back and then was completely confused by the 3 kisses, which I didn't understand, because I'd come from Brazil, and when I was there, 3 kisses were for the unmarried and 2 kisses were for the married, which I never understood, but whatever. So when I came here and it was 3 kisses, I was like, no, I'm married.
Yeah,
but
everyone is, okay.
Yeah, so it was confusing. But I mean, it takes, even though I'm used to it, it does take a while to understand, the cues are different, the norms are different, how can we do it? And so we have to, slowly understand what some of those cues are for people with neurodivergent brains, because it is different.
Yes.
And I think, there's growing respect and acknowledgement for it. I don't know how much in Dutch society, but in the international environment that we're in, we're seeing more and more of that.
No, we are also seeing more of that. Yeah, and
so
we acknowledge it. And what I also see is that when you have a neurodivergent brain, you tend to be more quiet, maybe, or very talkative.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, neurodivergent just means it's different.
Yeah, it's just different.
And so there's no norm
I know.
anymore. And I think a lot of people who do not have a neurodivergent brain are having a little difficulty. Okay, well, what's the norm? I said, no, there is no norm.
Yeah, there is no norm.
Some people like to be touched, some people don't like to be touched, some people speak a lot, some people don't speak a lot. It's just that there's variety.
Yes.
There's diversity in the human connections. And so we have to learn new tips and tips and tricks.
Yeah, just new tips and tricks, and choose for the social engagement that you want to be a part of, and not if you are not feeling like it, for example.
And for instance, during COVID, it was hard for people to get out and network. And I do remember having several conversations with people. I said, okay, you can still network online, but when you go to a networking event, be sure to prepare. Have a few questions that you know you want to ask. Because if you go prepared, then you feel a little better going in. Because I know what I'm going to ask, or this is who I'd like to meet. Because then, do you know so-and-so? They might know them, then they can introduce you. So you have to have a little bit of a plan. And also, by having that plan, you connect with somebody. If you go to a networking event and you have no questions, you're just somebody hanging out at the event. No one's connected with you. So even on the online events, we were saying, if you're not comfortable speaking, there's a chat function. Introduce yourself. Somebody in the group might go, oh, I'm also from whatever country, or I also just recently arrived. So there are ways of doing that. Certainly during the COVID period, for people who are uncomfortable in public places, huge advances for them because they were in an environment that was comfortable for them. They were happy behind the screen and chatting. But, now we're doing a lot more in person, but there's more balance in that. So there's some opportunities there for them as well. But be prepared.
Yeah.
Think of somebody you want to meet, questions that you have. If you're looking for a job, be clear what you're looking for so that if somebody asks you, you can say specifically what you're looking for. So, all of those tips and tricks still should help.
Yes,
most of the time.
most of the time. But it's wonderful that there's more attention for neurodiversity. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So I was wondering, you started working for Access at some point, like how many years ago?
About 12?
About 12?
Been a while.
12.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Yeah.
And you accidentally stepped into that role.
Kind of.
I picked that up, so maybe you could elaborate on that.
Well, it was again talking to somebody, and he was the chair of the board of Access at the time, and he was talking about something that was happening and that he was, facing a dilemma, and I sort of looked at him and went, I can do that because this is my life.
But I love that part that you just said, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's so empowering.
But I think I can do it because it was my life. It was literally from the day I was born to the day I said that, my life. I was the child of a Canadian diplomat, born in West Germany, which we now call Germany, and until the age of 40, I moved every 4 years, either with my father's career, with my career, or with my ex-husband's career, who was also a diplomat. So when I heard this problem about Access, I was like, I can do that. I have been the child of, the employee, the accompanying spouse, the expat or the international globally mobile mother, and the globally mobile divorcee as well. So I've learned a few things along the way. So the confidence that I said that was my life.
Yeah, it was your life.
I knew no other way of life. So so the confidence came from the experience. But there's tremendous value. And he responded to that and he said, oh. So for the first few years, I balanced it with my business. And then as Access became more and more time consuming, I closed my business and focused on Access. But and my business is why I've been a member of the WBII basically from when it started. So all of these worlds
Yeah, it's
intertwined.
wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah, when I'm listening to you, I'm seeing all these images of your life popping up.
Yeah, and I keep bumping into the same people as well. So you know,
Yes.
there's because within the WBII, our working language is English, and so many of the members are internationals as well, and many of the members were or are accompanying spouses
Yes.
or partners. So that world, you know, so they're examples again of the people who have made these achievements that I can then translate back to the connections I make at Access.
Yes, that's
so they're not, you know, people say you do so many different things. I say, yeah, but they're all interrelated, so they all support each other. So I'm still a member of the WBII, not with my business anymore, but now as the director of Access.
And now as the chair of the WBII.
And since January of this year, as the chair of the WBII. Yes. And again, that was a role that, in conversations with some members of the board, I knew that there were some issues coming up, and I said, I can do that.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah, so you did it for the second time.
Yeah. But again, it's, you know, it's comfortable. I'd been a member for many years. I see the value, and they needed a new person because there were other changes taking place. And so I said, I can do that. And what's interesting is I said I could do that, but the first thing I did was I called all the volunteers. There's quite a few volunteers. And I spent an hour talking to all the volunteers just to get feedback. How do you think it's going? What are you doing?
And and you did this before you mentioned
After.
or after? After
So,
you said I can do this.
I said I can do it. But I thought, let me start with finding out who's doing what. And something that I learned from Access, which I'm sort of applying to WBII, is we're very clear at Access of what we expect from people. 8 hours a week. You can go on 3-month holiday, there's no problem. But when you're here, we expect 6 to 8 hours a week. Some managers, 10 hours a week. And that has helped with our professionalism and our continuity, because we're very clear this is what we expect from you. So I'm trying to define within the WBII, we have lots of volunteers, but this is a volunteer role on top of their business, on top of their networking. So we have to respect the time that they are going to be available, which means that your planning has to be adjusted. You know, I had board meetings at Access, and the board would say, oh, hopefully we can have that by the next board meeting. And I said, oh, you mean next week? And they said, no, the next board meeting. I said, yeah, but if people are only working 8 hours a week, a month is a week. So would you ask your employee to turn this around in a week? And they would say, no. Well, then you can't ask volunteers to do it. Because our commitment that we ask from them is 8 hours a week. So we need more time. So your planning has to adjust as well as to what you can do. And with the WBII, we're adjusting in that planning. Who are the roles? Who does what? How are we going to do it? So although I've joined in January, we only kind of have a strategy meeting planned for September, because we only each put in about 10 hours a month.
Yes, yeah.
So you can't expect too much without recognizing the time it takes to do it.
Yeah, I love your way of thinking, and I recognize it because I've been to a couple of BII events, and you also shared it with us while we were there. Yeah,
it's important. We have to respect people's time and energy, and if you overdo it, people will quit, and then you have to start again.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
it's an investment in yourself to make sure that things are balanced.
Yes, you want them to be involved.
And happy, and contributing and receiving.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's an important, you know, also for our volunteers. Some of them have been with us for 10 years.
I got to know WBII in 2009.
Okay.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it started in 2007.
I think you were one of the first faces that I met, but it's a long time ago. And the one who brought me to WBII was Muriel Hoofd. And
I recognize that name.
Yeah, and she had her own business as a copywriter.
Yeah.
And I just learned from you that your own business was a copywriting business. Yeah. So perhaps that was the link.
Maybe. Yeah.
And so that was my first encounter. And she was the one She was the one who introduced me to several
Members.
no, to several networking
Okay.
organizations, like the Haagse Communicatiekring
Yeah.
in Den Haag, and that's also a while ago.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking about the talk that we just had about neurodiversity, and I am one of those people.
Yeah.
So it was really helpful that
you went with somebody.
Yeah, that I went with someone, and that she introduced me.
Yeah.
To,
because that
people.
helps, and then once you're there, you know which ones you're comfortable in, and then you're comfortable there, so you go on your own more easily the next time.
Yes.
But having somebody with you can make a huge difference.
It did. It made the difference. Yeah. And that's why the name also just kept with me for a long time. Yeah. And that's why I came back.
And we're very happy with you back.
Oh, thank you.
No, we've had wonderful presentation from you, and it's a nice energy in the room also with all our other members. And that's what I like about the WBII, is the only thing that joins us is that we're all pretty much independent entrepreneurs. And one of my attractions to the WBII was, even though you have contacts with clients, sometimes you want colleagues. Sometimes you want people that you can do social things with, or just hang out and have a drink, share a joke. And the WBII does that, provides that environment, but also gives us the chance to have different discussions on different topics that may serve our business. Not all of it will serve all of the businesses, but that's combined with the networking. So it's an opportunity to hang around the coffee cooler or the coffee machine or the water cooler, not the coffee cooler, and just get to know one another.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Network and have those sorts of colleagues. And we've started a new initiative. I'm not sure how it's going to go. I didn't even know these things existed, WhatsApp communities.
I saw it coming by.
We saw, but we realized that we needed a better way to communicate with our members, because we share announcement at the networking events, but not all members go to all events, and not the newsletter goes to everybody who's not a member. So we're like, okay, we can email everybody, but emails are kind of old generation. So then I saw this communities on WhatsApp. I thought, okay, let's try this. Let's see what happens here. And we've already had 2 or 3 members decide to join us for this AIR exhibit that we decided as a board we're all going to go in November. So hopefully we find out who wants to come, because we have to buy the tickets on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yes, but it's a great way.
But it's
to
a social
connect.
event.
Yeah, it's a social event. Yes.
It's not networking. It's just and we've done this in the past. Who wants to go to the museum in Amsterdam? And whoever comes.
Yes.
There's no commitment or whatever, but you're just colleagues.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So that's what attracts me to the WBII, and that's why I offered to help. They haven't kicked me out yet, so must be good.
You haven't got started yet. So.
This is true. Good point.
Yes, but So what do you think WBII needs to do to attract more members?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because we're smaller than we've been for a while, and so part of the strategy meeting in September will be that. What is our message? I know what it means to me, so we have to double check with everybody else on the board. Is that what it means to you? If that's who we are, then we need to define that message in our communications externally. And then hopefully also, which is how many of our members joined us in the past, it was word of mouth and colleagues. So we had one member recently join because another board member said, oh, you should join the WBII. So she's joined. So that's how we've done a lot of our recruitment, through word of mouth of existing members.
And I spoke to a lot of women, newbies, people who were just coming by for first time, who directly found WBI on the internet because they were looking for a community.
Yeah. And our website gets tremendous viewership. We're not 100% sure how or why, but okay, it's working. So we've had some people who have stopped their membership because they can never come to our networking events. They're either out of the city or whatever. But what we're realizing is that there is a lower level, the friend level, to become a member. So the events aren't included, but you're still on the website. You can still join a mastermind. You can still advertise in the newsletter. You can still post online. And if you come to a networking event, then you'll pay.
Yes, and this
is,
part is a wonderful tool for beginning entrepreneurs, but also for long-standing entrepreneurs to get some visibility.
Yeah. Visibility in colleagues. You know, even if we're not all going to the networking events, there's still ways of reaching out to other people. I've just joined the WBII. I noticed that you also live in, or there are ways to connect. Again, we have somebody who will start that, but it's up to the individual as well to encourage, to follow it through.
Yeah, that's
to
right.
encourage that as well.
But that part of connecting and being a part of a community, because of that, a friend of ours who we know from Capoeira has lived in Singapore for many years. And then I received a newsletter of WBII and I saw her announcement. I was like, oh, Carola. And
you know her.
So she's in the newsletter and she says that she's coming back to the Netherlands. So I think it was partially through the newsletter of WBI that I got to know that she was coming back.
Wow.
And
that's a great story.
Yeah, and partially through Facebook because we're connected. But it's lovely, to see it in so many ways coming back.
And hopefully it's encouraging for her to know that there's a group where she knows somebody that's doing...
Yeah, but she arranged that when she was in Singapore. So it's fantastic. It's like, oh, I'm coming back to The Hague. I was trying to join her. She's not on WhatsApp. I think, anyway. Carola Millenaar.
No, I just got her mobile number, but she's not on WhatsApp, so I couldn't add her to the community.
But it will happen.
It'll happen when she gets here. Exactly.
Yeah, but that's what I love about WBII. It's just an existing community who's active, in the field and helping out other entrepreneurs.
And I mean, many of our members are all single entrepreneurs, and you can have contact with your clients, but it's not the same.
No.
So we provide something else.
Yeah.
For the coffee cooler.
That's right. And what I like about that is there's an upcoming bottle, right, on the 5th of September.
Yes, correct.
And last year, that really felt like, okay, I'm going to cycle to a spot and I'll meet my so-called colleagues. But my colleagues have all different knowledge, and different businesses. But that's good. Yes, that's
you learn
wonderful.
Something, and you're not talking about the same old. You're talking about different things. Sometimes when you're all in the same field, you all tend to speak about the same thing, and this opens and makes it a little bit more diverse.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we do.
That's wonderful. So we've spoken about Access. We've spoken about WBI, and your background. You are an born expatriate.
I'm a third culture kid. I'm now an adult third culture kid.
You're an adult third culture kid.
ATCK.
Yes.
And this is all terminology from another organization I'm involved with. But the term TCK is it's around the same age as Access. And it was written by a woman, co-wrote a book with somebody she was from the missionary world working in Africa at the time. And they started to trace some of the differences that children born outside of a home country had to deal with in their own identity and in growing up. And so, the term third culture kid came. She then presented several years later on cross-cultural kids, because sometimes you have a bicultural family and you're living somewhere that neither parent is from, so the codes are different and you learn different things. So this is, again, part of the neurodiversity in our world as well. Somebody, I can switch from English to Spanish to Dutch. I make a few mistakes along the way because I don't use my Spanish so much, but I can do that in a conversation. If somebody has never left their country and never learned another language, they're amazed. Like, how do you do that? Well, I learned Spanish as a child, I learned English as a child, I learned Dutch as an adult, but I talk a lot, so it's easy. For me, it's easy. It's not easy for everybody. So, anyway, so I'm an adult third culture kid.
Yes, and I find that really impressive. Yeah, and you chose Holland to be your home country for all these years?
No, so I came, my ex-husband is Dutch. And we moved here, and when we separated, the children were quite young. remember, I'd never lived anywhere for longer than 4 years until then, my whole life. And even though I had done university in Canada and worked there for a year or two, I'd never lived anywhere. I had a network of friends here. I was happy here, but I knew it was better for the children because their father would, even if he went overseas, would still come back here. So did I stay because of me or the children? Both. There was a value to me, but also clear value for the children to change as little in their environment as possible. So they stayed in the same school, tried to live in the same neighborhood, tried to keep as much stable for them. So did I choose to stay in the Netherlands? Yes, but and in hindsight now, looking back, being a single parent in the Netherlands was way easier than if I'd had to do it in Canada. Distances, size of the city, lifestyle, mentality. Yes. So, so I happily stayed. And now I've been here so long, where else am I going to go?
Yes. Yeah, and also what I heard in your story is like you wanted the stability for your kids.
Yeah.
That they are in a country for a longer period of time. Or more in terms of education.
More in terms of just familiarity at that age. They were very, very young, so I didn't want to change everything. The fact that the marriage was changing itself, I tried to keep the school the same, where we live the same, the sports club the same. So tried to keep some of those things the same.
Instead of everything changing.
Exactly.
And you were used to that, right?
I was used to everything changing.
Yeah.
It still drives my children crazy because I move the furniture around every now and then because I can't buy a house every 4 years. We used to rent houses every 4 years.
Yes.
So you could rearrange the furniture, you brought new things in, you put the artwork somewhere else. I've been living in the same house for so long, I just keep moving the furniture around. Or paint the wall a different color.
Yes.
So, the change comes that way now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, you have to do
I
something with
exactly. I move the plants around every now and then so that I look at a different plant. So, those changes can happen.
I also do that. Yeah, once in a while.
Yeah, move the plants.
Maybe not that often.
Yeah.
Move the plant, but also move the furniture.
Yeah.
But I haven't lived in that many countries as you have.
Yeah.
But it's just
It's
something
just part
I like.
Yeah. It's like, let's do it differently.
Yeah, let's do it.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah. Wow. Deborah, thank you for sharing all your stories.
For asking very good questions.
Well,
guiding me.
Well, I have not a question, but more like, is there something that you would love to share? Just a final word.
I guess my final word is linked to both WBII and Access, but in particular what I've learned from Access. And that is, I think it's a really important message for accompanying partners and spouses to acknowledge for themselves the decision they've made to come. So it might have been a joint decision about whoever's working, but still the person who accompanies has also made individual decisions. And I think we need to pat ourselves on the back for those individual decisions. And I think by recognizing and acknowledging that, your shoulders go back a little straighter and you can go into the next challenge. But people just say, I moved. I went, no, you didn't move. You gave up your job. You packed the house. You booked the tickets. You sold the house. You gave up your network of friends. All of these things took time and effort. Well done.
And it will take time also to
and even after you arrive,
get used to it.
Exactly. And give yourself time. Yeah. Take the praise for the decision you made. Give yourself time when you arrive. And remain positive.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.